advice I could give you is to select something that you consider very interesting to yourself. I mean, something that you won't get bored with, because my dissertation took me exactly 2 years and 9 months to write and defend. When I started in January of 2020, that process was a long process. So I picked this topic that was kind of familiar to me, but also very interesting to me, so I could stay motivated to kind of keep going. I think to select a chair, you need what I would consider like an alpha male or an alpha female. You need a strong personality that can manage things, because that person is responsible for the other people of the committee to make sure people are together, people are on board, people meet at the same time. You can't have someone who's wishy-washy about stuff. You need someone that's a strong personality that can manage the other committee members. I think that's the best advice I can give on that, because they have a huge responsibility of organizing things, organizing meetings, organizing, proposal defense, and basically, they have to come to an agreement that this product that you're producing is at the level. So, they have to be able to mitigate any kind of disagreements between the committee members, and, having a strong chair is critical. And Dr. Cromartie was awesome for me. I mean, he was a perfect fit. I never worried about anything in terms of, things getting done. Things were always returned to me in like a really timely manner. Even though it took 2 years and 9 months for me to write my dissertation, that wasn't the Academy's fault. Certain things just came about, and I'll talk about this in a moment. But, in terms of what they offered me was on point all the time. And I give Dr. Cromartie tremendous amount of credit for that. As far as the other members are concerned, I would select someone who is really, really good at statistical analysis. Just statistical analysis is a big part of your dissertation. So you need a stats guy, someone who is, can really get into SPSS and get into data analysis and really help you on that regard. Excuse me. And finally, I would select another member that had research interests in line with yours. Just because he, that first reader and so forth, you want someone who's kind of in your ballpark in terms of your research. If I could give one bit of advice to any graduate student, would be that seeking a PhD or a doctorate, would be is that the slightest delay can cost you 9 months. If you drag your feet on something, because you're working within other people's timelines. It's not just about you. Other people have things to do. Now, this may be the first thing on your to-do list. It's 50 up on somebody else's. So I could give the story of, I drugged my feet getting my edits back for my proposal defense. Kind of drugged my feet doing that, got a little distracted. I did that in January. And by the time I got my edits back to my committee and got the approval, was in April. And by that time, I couldn't start data collection because school was out, and I had to have school in session to collect my data. So effectively, that few months or really about 2 months of dragging my feet and not getting things back when they were supposed to be getting back, cost me from January until August, effectively 9 months where I could have been collecting data, and I was sitting around twiddling my thumbs because I drugged my feet at that critical stage. So the biggest advice that I can give any doctoral student is don't hesitate, don't procrastinate, because this slightest delay can end up costing you, 9 months in a blink, because, you work within other people's schedules. And the way my dissertation was structured, I had to collect data when school was in session, because I was working with NAIA soccer players. There was no way to collect data if the school was out. So that slight delay was a very big challenge, and I learned my lesson with that. There's no substitute for hard work. I mean, you have to have a goal. You have to have a mindset that, this degree is going to get me where I want to be. And I know so many people that are ABD forever. They didn't finish for whatever reason. I 2 of my training clients at the gym I trained at was my mentorship at LA Fitness. Was my mentorship at the Academy. I still have that job along with teaching now. But I had 2 clients, and both of them were ABD, and they were older ladies. Two different fields. One was in nursing, one was in Spanish. And I asked them why they didn't finish. And the biggest reason is it was a family structure change. They both got divorced, and one was lost a job, and like their goals and objectives, had to shift to taking care of a family now, and they couldn't finish because of that. So, if you're in the right spot to finish, just go ahead and work as hard as you can. If you set yourself up for that, because life happens, a lot of things happen, a lot of people don't finish. So, my biggest thing is, in terms of crossing that finish line, is find your reason why you want to do it, and just persevere. I can come up with any excuse not to write. Anything. I got to walk the dog. I got to go to this game with my buddies. I got to go play video games. You name it. I can come to any excuse to write. But in that situation, during that dissertation phase, that has to be your number one priority. But besides, family and so forth, that kind of thing, you have to make it a priority to finish. It has to come before anything, and people have to understand that you need this time to do it. Because, like I said, it took me 2 years and 9 months, and I worked pretty hard. And did I ever think about quitting? No. Because this is what I want. But I had to find ways to keep myself motivated, and for me, as I wanted to work in higher ed. I know to get the best job I can, I have to have that terminal degree. And I worked in higher ed my entire doctoral program, but to seek a full-time position, I mean, you have to have it. So I busted my tail, and I got it no matter what. And that was really my X factor. And just, if I could give any advice to a doctoral student, is eliminate distractions. People have to know you have to write. I mean, that's the hard parts of the dissertation. The coursework, coursework is coursework, but the dissertation is a much different animal. So you have to make time for that. It has to be a priority, and you have to try not to procrastinate. You have to try to not delay on things, because things that you don't think are a big deal. And like I said, I learned my lesson. I lost 9 months in a blink because I delayed a little bit of time, and I finished, but I could have finished much earlier. So it was a great experience. The biggest benefit, I feel, as if you compare it to a Rank 1 institution like University of Kentucky, is just basically the one-on-one personal time. I mean, I got Dr. Cromartie's cell phone number. I could text him stuff. I mean, there's no, I had a friend, and she was getting her doctorate at University of Kentucky in social work, and there was no 2-week turnaround. By the time I shoot an email to my chair, or I submit something, there's no 2-week turnaround where you're waiting. I mean, things are done at the academy right away. That would be the biggest advantage, is the one-on-one. If I submitted something to my chair, I had it, that week back to me, quickly. And they're always available. I mean, that's a huge thing people to understand, is the availability. At other institutions that are larger, these doctoral committee members are expected to do their own research. They're expected to chair multiple dissertations. I know that's the case here, but my point to that is, there's a lot of time that they have already taken up, and they can't allocate as much time as you think that really you deserve. I mean, I think it's kind of a disservice that you don't get the time that you need sometimes, and you're stuck waiting. That was never the case at the academy. I was always getting stuff back that week. I was getting attention. I could talk to Dr. Cromartie every single day if I wanted. It was just, I couldn't have imagined a better doctoral experience in terms of the one-on-one and the hands-on. The feedback was always spot on. My committee chair and my committee got me through the finish line. There's no doubt. I think a lot of people kind of fall through the cracks and don't finish their ABD because of the reasons I just said. Life happens, but also they don't get that one-on-one connection, or that one-on-one attention that they need during some critical stages. So, I've heard some horror stories, but at the academy, I had no fear of that. Everything went exactly how it was supposed to. I had a successful defense, and overall it was a great experience for me.